welcome back to another session on Indian writing in English. We continue with Nagamandala. So we stopped with Story intervening and asking her to put or to pour that portion or into the anthill. So you see how the story intervenes and directs and is actually responsible for the actions and lives of its characters. All that we discussed in the last video. So let's continue. Rani, the anthill, returns to the tall anthill, starts pouring the liquid into it. The dog starts howling in the front yard. Aparna, Rani, see what is bothering the dog. Surprised at receiving no reply, Rani goes to the kitchen drying himself. She's not there. Comes to the front door looking for her. By this time, Rani has poured the curry into the anthill and is running back to the house. The moment she turns her back to the anthill, a king cobra lifts its hood, hissing out of the anthill. Looks around. It sees Rani and follows her at a distance. By the time she has reached the front door of her house, it is behind a nearby tree watching her. Rani comes to the front door and freezes. Aparna is waiting for her. Aparna, Rani, where have you been? No answer. I said, where have you been? Rani, answer me. Moves aside so she can go in. But the moment she steps in, Aparna slaps her hard. Rani collapses to the floor. He does not look at her again, just pulls the door shut, locks it from outside and goes away. There is not a trace of anger in anything he does, just cold contempt. The dog barks loudly at the king cobra, which watches from behind the tree, hissing, excited, restless. Aparna goes away. Rani goes to her bedroom, throws herself down in her usual corner, crying. When it is dark, the cobra moves towards the house. The barking becomes louder, more continuous. Rani wakes up, goes to the window, curses and shouts, goes back to bed. The cobra enters the house through the drain in the bathroom. Story. As you know, a cobra can assume any form it likes. That night, it entered the house through the bathroom drain and took the shape of. The cobra takes the shape of Aparna. To distinguish this Aparna from the real one, we shall call him Naga, meaning cobra. So the dramatist here, it's there, it is put in italics, and in fact it is not completed by story, and it is not the Sutradhara who is saying this, and therefore we must assume that it is the dramatist that gives the name Naga, the dramatist of the play Nagamandala that gives the name Naga. Okay, and Naga searches for Rani in the house, finds her sleeping in the bedroom. He moves near her and then gently caresses her. She wakes up with a start. Rani, you, Naga, don't get up. Rani, but when did you come? Shall I serve the food? Naga, food? At midnight? Rani, then something else, perhaps. Doesn't know what to say. Stands dazed, leaning against the wall. Naga, why don't you sit? Are you so afraid of me? She shakes her head, then sits down. Rani, no. Naga, I will go and sit there, away from you. Will you at least sit then? Moves away, sits on the floor at a distance from her. Now, Rani sits on the edge of the bed. Long silence. She is dozing. but struggles to keep her eyes open. Naga, you're very beautiful. Rani, startled. What? Do you want something? Naga, no, I said you're very beautiful. Poor thing. Rani, poor thing? Naga, that a tender bud like you should get such a rotten husband. Rani, I didn't say anything. Naga, you didn't. I'm saying it. Did it hurt? The beating this morning? Rani, no. Naga, locked up in the house all day. You must be missing your parents. Rani struggles to hold back a sob. No. Naga, they doted on you, didn't they? She suddenly bursts out into a fit of weeping. Naga, startled. What is it? Rani continues to howl. I know you want to see your parents, don't you? All right, I'll arrange that. She looks at him dumbfounded. Truly. Now smile. Just a bit. Look, I'll send you to them only if you smile now. Rani tries to smile. A new outburst of barking from the dog. Oh, does this dog carry on like that all night? How long is it since you have had a good night's sleep? Rani, but see, she's confused. And Naga, when he speaks about Appanna's behavior, because Naga has taken the guise of Appanna, and Rani, she has not noticed this change at all, because Naga has come in the form of Appanna, and therefore she is perplexed, she is confused, because Appanna is different in the morning, and right now he behaves strangely to her. He behaves very lovingly to her. So this is what I meant by the two aspects of man. The way he behaves like a stranger in the morning, and the way he behaves like a lover at night. So the two basic functions that a woman has in this Indian society is that of serving food to her husband and serving him her own body. All right. So that's one implication. See, this is layer after layer of interpretation. Nagamandala may look very simplistic, it's very apparently simple, but it is not so. It has layer after layer of meaning, multiple interpretations. So therefore, this is one of that interpretation. The mask, that is. As I told you, the Western theatre and the Indian theatre, the difference between the Western theatre and the Indian theatre, where you have in Western theatre you have a distinction between the face and the inner psyche, but in the Indian theatre you don't have that. There is no hiding of anything. Appanna, through the face of Appanna, you also see Naga, both the faces or the mask of both Appanna and Naga is portrayed. The face that he tries to show outside, and his inner psyche is also revealed here. So everything is in the Indian theatre. There is no distinction between the actual person and what he assumes to be in front of the society, or what he tries to show in front of the audience. All right. But Naga, happy to see that react. But what? Rani, nothing. Naga, in order to provoke her, listen to that racket. Have you had even one good night's sleep since coming here? Rani, but she's confused because he only brought the dog here, and he's asking, why do you have this dog? Have you ever got sleep? He's so concerned about her. So she's like perplexed. Again, that is man's nature, while he wants something from his wife at night. Naga, what are you butting about? But what? Rani, but you brought the dog here only this morning. There was no problem all these days. Naga trying to cover up. But yes, of course. Okay, so again, there you get to have a transition. So Karnad tries to show that this is just a play again. So through various, and so you'll have to read between the lines to understand how the playwright has purposefully given or tries to bring in various interpretations. So Naga tries to cover up. Yes, of course. Rani, till this morning, once the housework was over, what was there to do? I used to sleep through the day and lie awake at night. Today, this wretched dog has been barking since it was brought here. That's why I was dozing when you came in. I'm sorry. Naga teasing. Quite right. That won't do any more. From tomorrow, I want you to be fresh and bright when I come home at night. Rani, uncertain. At night? Naga, yes, I shall come home every night from now on. May I? See, that may I, okay? Rani does not know that it is Naga because it is in the shape of Aparna. So he asks her permission. Rani laughs shyly, pauses. She's sleepy. May I sit by you now? Or will that make you jump out of your skin again? Rani shakes her head. Naga comes and sits very close to her. When she tries to move away, he suddenly grabs her with frightening speed. Naga, don't be afraid. Put your head against my shoulder. She slowly puts her head on his shoulder. He gently puts his arm around her. Naga, now don't be silly. I'm not a mongoose or a hawk that you should be afraid of. Good, relax. Tell me about your parents. What did all of you talk about? Did they pamper you? Tell me everything. She has fallen asleep against his chest. He slowly unties her hair. It is long and thick and covers them both. He picks up her hair in his hand and smells it. Naga, what beautiful long hair, like dark, black snake princesses. He lays her down gently, gets up, goes to the bathroom, turns into his original self and slithers away. Morning, Rani wakes up and looks around. No husband. Comes to the front door, pushes it. It is still locked. Baffled, she washes her face, goes to the kitchen and starts cooking. The dog starts barking. Aparna comes, pats the dog. Aparna, hello friend, no intruders tonight, eh? He unlocks the door and steps in. At the noise of the door, Rani comes out running. She's laughing. Rani, but when did you go away? Freezes when she sees the expression of distaste on his face. Aparna, yes? Rani, oh, nothing. Aparna, good. Goes to the bathroom. Rani stares after him, then returns to the kitchen. Rani, I must have been dreaming again. Rani, what happens here is Rani brings out the pot out by avoiding her husband in the bathroom, right? She steps out of the house and starts pouring out the curry, but she stops doing that on seeing the red stain left by the curry. And she asks the story what she should do to prevent Aparna from knowing about all this. And Story intervenes and tells her to put it in the anthill. Again, as I told you, Story is directing the fate of Rani. Okay, again Kurdava, if you look at Kurdava, as I told you, it's just an exploitation. I did tell you in the beginning, that's an exploitation of older woman, of the younger woman. See, Kurdava, what she tried to do was she tried to solve the problem. She, of course, sought to something that is heinous, something like an evil magic. There is a concept of evil in Nagamandala, a theme of evil in Nagamandala as well. Now she tries to give a solution, okay, not the right way but in the wrong way. However, Rani messes it up, and it turns out to be, or it takes a terrible a turn both for Kurdava as well as Rani. So that's why I said it is an exploitation of woman by woman. Okay. Then so what happens here is Rani pours this curry into the anthill, and she is returning back to the house. The moment she returns her back to the anthill, she tries to look at whether there is any stain or anything outside, and when she looks at the anthill, there's a king cobra that lifts its hood hissing out of the anthill, and it looks around. And see, this is a love potion that was given to Rani, this magical root, and what happens is it has started, or it has affected the cobra, and the cobra instantly falls in love with Rani and follows her at a distance. So when she has reached the front door of the house, it is watching her from behind a nearby tree. Rani slowly moves to the front door, and she freezes because Appanna was when he heard the dog bark, he kept calling for Rani, but Rani did not answer, and when she did not answer, he came out and he was waiting for her. He asked her where she was or where she has been. Rani does not answer him. He demands an answer to his question. He moves aside to make way for her to get into the house, but the moment she steps in, this cruel man, he slaps her hard. Rani collapses to the floor. He does not even look at her. He just pulls the door shut, locks it from outside, and he goes away. There is no trace of anger, nothing. There is just contempt in his face. He has absolutely no love, no affection for Rani. Outside the house, the dog barks loudly at the king cobra, which watches at it watches at the house from behind the tree. It is hissing, and it is excited, and it is restless, because what poured on it was the love potion, and he's fallen terribly in love with Rani, and there is an erotic touch in it as well. Appanna goes away, and Rani goes to her bedroom. She throws herself into the usual corner and starts crying. The king cobra is still watching her from the tree, and the dog continues to bark on it. When it becomes totally dark, when it's night, the cobra moves towards the house. The barking of the dog becomes louder and more continuous. Rani wakes up, goes to the window, curses the door, and shouts at it. She returns to her bed. The cobra enters the house through the drain in the bathroom. The story tells the man that as he knows, a cobra can assume any form it likes. Now again, the story intervenes. So there is this, why do you think Karnad uses this technique? This is to make you, or to make the audience, come out of the hot seat, and through these folk tales, folk art and magical realisms, all these happening, it again, Karnad wants to tell you that you're not just watching a play, there's much more than to it, more than the play. So thereby he is forcing you to have an objective view of the play, rather than immersing yourself and getting completely immersed, or completely having a subjective feeling of the play. That is, if there is no interventions by story, or the sutradhara, or the magical elements, all these things that can actually question your logic, what happens is you get very subjective. You kind of associate yourself with the character, and therefore you stop to think. You don't think about the reality that is happening around you. You become very subjective. As long as you're subjective, you cannot think, because you think in terms of the character and nothing more than that. But if you have an objective view, you will be able to understand all the evils and all the things, corruptions and evil that is going on around you. So this is the reason why Karnad has used this alienation effect to distance the audience from associating them with the character, so that they will sit to think about the play, and also what the playwright is trying to tell or showcase will also be understood by the, or to an extent will be understood by the audience, if he has an objective mind or a perspective. Okay, it's 9th and using magical realism or shape shifting. We'll be coming to that. The cobra assumes or enters the bathroom, enters the house through the bathroom drain, and assumes the shape of whom? Appanna. To distinguish this from Appanna, from the real Appanna, the dramatist of the play, again, that's why it's put in italics and it is put in bracket. So here we have the dramatist also interfering, and the dramatists say that we shall call him Naga, which means cobra, to make a distinction between Naga and and Appanna. Okay, Naga searches for Rani in the house. He finds her sleeping in the bedroom, and he watches her passionately with love-filled eyes. And then they talk. So Naga is in the bedroom. Okay, our attention is focused on Rani and Naga, and Rani is sleeping and Naga is watching her alluring charms with feelings of love induced by tasting the magic root or magic love potion poured into the anthill by Rani from a distance. He moves nearer and he caresses her gently. Rani wakes up with a surprise and tries to get up on seeing Naga, as he has taken the shape of her husband Appanna. Naga asks her not to bother about the formalities of standing and so on. So here also you understand the Indian scenario, where man or the husband is considered as godlike. Okay. Rani asks him when he came and if she can serve him food. Naga says that it will be funny if he asks for food at midnight. Rani thinks that he wants something else perhaps, if not food. Again, there is another meaning to it as well. She does not know what to say and stands confused, leaning against the wall. Naga asks Rani why she does not sit and if she is afraid of him. She shakes her head, indicating that she is not afraid of him. Naga asks her to sit down in that case. She is hesitant to sit yet. Naga then offers to move away from her and asks her if she will at least sit then, if since he has moved away from her. Naga moves away and sits on the floor at a distance from her. Rani sits on the edge of the bed. She feels sleepy but struggles hard to keep her eyes open. Now Naga tries to make Rani feel quiet at home, right? He tells her in a very loving manner. He tells her how beautiful she is, and Rani is actually surprised at all this sudden compliment from her husband. She asks him what he has said and if he really wants something. Rani is dozing off to sleep, and she can barely keep her eyes open. Naga tells her that he doesn't want anything, but just commented on her beauty. Now he also starts talking about Appanna. Appanna, Naga calls Rani a poor thing, and he says he's sorry that a young and beautiful girl like Rani should get a rotten husband. Again, this is another form of trying to show the two aspects of man. Appanna during the night time is totally a different person from what he is during the day. At night, to get what he wants, that is an intercourse or sex, he speaks to her, he compliments her on her beauty, and he tells her about his shameful behavior during the day. So this is one way of looking at this plot or this area. Naga agrees that agrees that she did not say anything, or she just keeps quiet. He asks her if the beating that she received hurt her. Okay, so again you have to look at it in this parallel form. One in the form of Naga, assuming the shape of Appanna, and completely as a different entity. Another, metaphorically, Appanna and Naga are the same. So two ways of looking at it. One way is through the story, Naga as a different entity, and another way is Appanna and Naga being the same. So after beating Rani mercilessly, he goes and asks her if it hurt. So she tells him that it doesn't, because she still does not know that it is Naga, and she still believes it is Appanna, and she's confused and perplexed. Okay, so and then he asks her about her parents, and whether she misses her, and he tells her that I am pretty sure that you have been a doll in your parents' house. You have been looked after well, and he asks her whether she misses her parents, and then suddenly she bursts out into a fit of crying, a fit of tears at the mention of her parents. Naga feels sorry for Rani and consoles her, saying that he is aware of her longing to see her parents. He also assures that he will arrange for her meeting her parents. Rani looks at him speechless. He tells her that he will truly arrange for that. He asks her to smile just a bit. Rani tries hard to smile, and then Naga hears the barking of the dog, and he gets irritated and asks Rani if the dog goes on barking like that at night. So Rani again is confused, because Naga himself had brought the animal home, and she is confused at not Naga, Appanna himself had brought the animal home, and she is now confused as to why he is saying all these things. So Rani reminds him that it was he who brought the dog in this morning, and till then there was no problem of losing her sleep all these days. But Naga then suddenly tries to cover up his lapse, and he says, "Oh yes, that was true. I totally forgot." So Rani tells him that till morning, once she finished her household chores, she had no other work to do, and she used to sleep through the day and keep awake at night. Today, the wretched dog has been barking away since it was brought here, and that is why she was dozing when he came in, and she pleads excuse for that. Now, Naga, teasing Rani, tells her that he will excuse for her sleepiness today, but he wants her to be fresh and bright from tomorrow when he comes home at night. Rani asks him uncertainly if he will bring home or he will come home only at night. He tells her that he will come home every night from now on and asks her if he may do that. So he's again asking for permission. Rani laughs shyly, she feels sleepy, and she falls asleep in Naga's arms. So when she tries to move away, before she could fall asleep, Rani feels, Naga asks if he could sit by her side, and he comes and sits near her. Rani tells him that she will not be scared, and he comes and sits very close to her, and when she tries to move away, he suddenly grabs her with an alarming speed. So that shows that the nature of Naga. So Naga's nature, whatever he is, even though he has assumed the shape of a human being, he still has that animal instinct, or his characteristic of that particular animal. Again, that should be borne in mind. Okay, he asks her not to be afraid, and he asks her to lean her head against his shoulder, and she slowly leans her head on his shoulder and gently falls asleep. He throws his arm around her. He asks her if she feels relaxed and if she's at ease, and he also reminds her that why she needn't be scared, because he's not a mongoose or a hawk that she should be afraid of. He asks her to tell her about her parents and everything, and Rani falls fast asleep on his chest. He slowly unties her hair. It is long and thick and covers them both. He picks her up in his hand and smells it. He picks her hair in his hand and smells it. He admires her long and beautiful beautiful hair, looking like dark black snake princesses. He lays down Rani gently, and he gets up, goes to the bathroom, turns into his original shape, that is king cobra, and glides away. So, see, in Hindu mythology, the Naga represents several images. In South India, many houses have their own shrine, which is often a grove reserved for snakes, consisting of trees festooned with creepers, situated in a corner of the garden. Snakes are also symbols of human maleness and strength. Nagas are sometimes pictured as handsome men, or as half man or half snake, the top half using the torso of a man and the lower half of a coiled snake. Karnad in Nagamandala has made use of the folktale and mixes the human and the non-human world as a distancing device, which brings the alienation effect in the play. So the folktale element of Nagamandala and the magical powers which the cobra possess reminds us that we are just watching a play. Karnad shrewdly uses the ritual of the shape-shifting to enhance the theatrical effect of the play. The shape-shifting or the transformation is a recurring motif in all myths, legends and folktales of almost all culture. It's not just Indian culture, almost all culture. The epics, the Puranas, the sacred texts or the sacred religious books of several cultures are replete with many instances of miraculous shape shifting. In Nagamandala, it is no merely a structural strategy. It's not just a structural strategy, but a means of reviving the ancient and the sacred function of drama as a ritual, which forms a very important part of the Indian theatre. Okay, it's a part of the ritual function of drama as a ritual, which forms a very important part of the theatre. The play Nagamandala uses magic and supernaturalism and has ample instances of the ritual of shape-shifting. The foremost instance is that of Cobra appearing in the guise of a panna to win Rani's confidence and love. The flames also, if you remember the prologue, the flames also take on human shapes to gossip at the temple after they have been put out in the houses. Story transforms into the shape of a woman. And such transformations in the play is very crucial. It's very important. In fact, it is this transformation that constitutes the whole essence of the play. The shape-shifting of Naga into Appana constitutes the crux of the play, of the plot. Rani is initiated into the joys of marital life by Naga, who serves as a contrasting double to Appana. So shape-shifting also serves as means of illumination and self-knowledge for the characters. It is through the shape-shifting of Naga that Rani realizes her inner potential as a woman and eventually as a wife and a mother, but that will come to later on. So now in this act, or in this part of the story or part of the play, Rani is perplexed and is stunned at his behavior. So it's mostly this part we should mostly concentrate on this technique that Karnad has used, the shape-shifting technique. Okay, so it is through Naga that she would gain her inner strength to claim her natural rights within the framework of family. That's one question that I asked in the last video. We stopped with that question. So again, using this shape-shifting, what does Karnad do? I'm going to throw a question again and then leave you with that. What does Karnad do with the shape-shifting? I've already given you the answer. It's there in the video itself, in this video itself. But what does he do by using this shape-shifting method or technique? It reminds us, right, that we are just watching a play, one thing. Another thing, it also reminds us that there is something more to it than watching the play. And that is the dual nature, or the two aspects of man, the Indian man, or the universally any man. How he behaves during the day and how he behaves at night, and how he treats his wife or woman. So that's about it for today. Thank you and keep safe.